That's because Kamala Harris has spent her whole life fighting on the side of the American people. You know her story. Took on the predators, took on the fraudsters, took on the transnational gangs, took on the big corporate interests, and never hesitated to work with anybody on either side of the aisle if it was right for the American people. I bet she never thought the predators and the fraudsters and the greedy corporate interests would be all wrapped up into one person on a debate stage. But she saw it. But I got to tell you, I'm proud to be on this ticket. And the Vice President says this a lot. Only in America can you find someone from a middle-class family in Oakland, California, and someone from rural Nebraska who have the ability to become the next president and vice president of the United States. So my guess is some of you know something about small towns. I grew up in a town of 400 people, 24 kids in my high school class, 12 were cousins. I never get away with someone not asking about prom dating on that one either. And not one of those kids became a venture capitalist. Imagine that. I don't know. But you know what you do learn growing up, and some of you grew up in small towns and big towns. It's about taking care of your neighbors. It's about looking out for somebody next to you. It's about understanding the common good. We have a saying in Minnesota, when we all do better, we all do better. And I feel blessed. I grew up in a community and with parents who understood this. My dad was a Korean War veteran, so 2 days after my 17th birthday, he took me down, raised my hands, and I signed up for the Army National Guard. I'm proud of that. I wound up doing 24 years in this nation's uniform. And nothing I'll do compared to the honor of doing that work. But I'll also tell you, there's a lot of ways to serve this country, and I had the privilege of serving it as a public school teacher for a couple decades. Coached some football, which was good. And my pro tip of the day is don't ever close the yearbook. We won the state championship, and I talk about it to this day. So there you go. I never thought about running for office. But I learned something from those kids. They were seeing in me what I was trying to teach them. Common good, lift folks up, think about someone else. And so my neighbors talked me into running for Congress in a district that they did not tell me had one Democrat since 1892. Well, they gave me the privilege of serving them for 12 years in Congress. And I was consistently ranked as one of the most bipartisan members of that body because I worked on Veterans Affairs. I worked in the Ag Committee. I worked on transportation. Things about making rural economies in our states work. And I learned something really important, that you can compromise without compromising your values. And I know that the Vice President learned those things, so it's good that come November, with your help, after she's elected president and I am elected the vice president, we'll take those values to the White House. Now look, we don't expect everybody to see the world the same way. And it's pretty clear our opponents see the world very differently. We all saw what happened when Donald Trump was in power. The very first thing, don't let him forget this, because, they try and rewrite history every day. They try and, alternate facts, new this, whatever. But be very clear. First thing he did, signed an executive order and talked about this, was to repeal the Affordable Care Act, which protected those of us with pre-existing conditions, let our children stay on our health care till they were 26. And something, thank God for you and Roy Cooper, expanding Medicare and Medicaid coverage across the state. But I will say this. On the second one, this is the one thing he kept his word on, and he actually followed through with it. He said to his rich buddies, well, you're rich as hell, and I'm going to give you a tax cut. He did. He did give a tax cut to the wealthiest amongst us. all the while creating the largest debt of any president in history. And then, as our Republican friends are so apt to do, they tell you government doesn't work, then they get elected and prove it. We know that shell game. And the third thing he did, and he brags about this often, he forgets about this too. He rammed through 3 judges who made sure that women are no longer responsible for their own health care choices. And I don't know, he found enough energy to do this. He did all that before he tried to violently overthrow our election and deny a free and fair election. We need to be very clear about how we talk about that, because he lost the election, and there's no doubt about that. There's no need to have fair and balanced news coverage on that, because there is no fair and balance. He lost the election fair and square. And look, my high school students know this, and my players knew this. You play hard, the other team plays hard, and after the game, if you lose, you'll walk across and shake hands and congratulate the other team. That's the way it works. In politics, you take it another step forward. You walk across and congratulate the winner, and then you pledge to do all you can to help them succeed, because that's good for America. Now, I did teach for a while. I think I'm a pretty good teacher, and I would always give my students extra chances to learn. Sometimes you don't learn the lesson the first time. So Donald Trump did not learn the lesson the first time, but the good news is he's going to learn the lesson in November.